Okay, my question is, I've been really struggling with being very disorganized. I have a business, and I have on my desk I've got a stack of business cards just that should be entered into my database.
Why?
So that I can keep track of these people and
Why?
And market to them. Why are they still there?
Why do you need to do something different with them than you are doing?
Because I'm not reaching out to this group of people to stay in front of them, to keep myself marketed to them.
Do you have plenty? Do you have plenty to do already?
Yes.
Then why do you need more?
Well, I want to continue growing my business, and it's not just that. I mean, I've got papers piled up here and there, and it's just, I feel like the fact that I'm disorganized is holding me back.
We agree with that, but when you hate organizing, then organizing will hold you back too.
Yes, I hate it.
And the universe has a way of yielding to you irrespective of your organizational skills. Because, in other words, the universe doesn't say, when you get organized, we'll yield to you. The universe doesn't say, a clean desk is required before you get the good stuff. The universe says to you, when you want it, we yield it to you. And if you're in this place of allowing it, then you're going to let it in. And so there are different styles. There are those who need to be organized in order to stand it. In other words, clutter just makes them crazy. Well, we would encourage them to get organized because they need it for alignment. But if organizing is as frustrating as you say it is, and if you're making that stack work, in other words, it is our suspicion that you could get your hands pretty quickly on anything on your desk if it really mattered to you. If it really mattered, you could find it reasonably quickly. In other words, we think it is more of a time saver to just find it when you need it, the universe will help you, than for you to spend all that time trying to get organized and maintain a lifestyle that you have not practiced or that has never been important to you.
That's awesome. It's powerful.
The only thing that is sticking for you is you are beating up on yourself for not being organized, which is what is causing the resistance. But if you will say, I'm like a mad scientist, or I'm like a creative genius, where the energy just flows through me, because you are that. You don't have to be like someone else is in order to have your success. You're having your success. And more is coming.
Okay. I was wondering if that might be tied in, because I've also was dealing with some financial issues, and my bank accounts are disorganized. My personal account, my business account, our money's going back and forth between those two, my business and personal credit cards. It's like wherever I need the money from, it's being pulled here to go there and pulled here to go there. And is that related to this? I mean, is disorganization in this area causing me financial distress, or are those just still not even related?
We think the disorganization that you have been practicing is sort of evident there, but we do not think one is the cause of the other. Okay. We think that the way you feel about organizing is the cause of all of them. But here's the thing that we really want you to hear. Are you making it work? In other words, do you have a sense of where the money is?
Not in a way that I could explain to the IRS, but yeah, I mean, I know where money is, and where, which bank account has some in it at that moment, and which one might need it later.
Well, if you ever needed to explain it, all of the records are there. In other words, money in and money out is not a difficult thing to explain. In other words, even when you spend something on your credit card, there is a record of it. And so sure. At any point that any reconciliation is necessary, it is there for you. The reason that we're playing with you here a little bit is because we want to soothe you into this place where you are no longer beating up on yourself for your organizational style. And we would call it a style because it's sort of the way that you are moving. And the reason that we are not wanting you to all of a sudden begin to try to tighten up on yourself and shape up and do things in a more regimented way, in the way that would please someone else, is because creative juices very often are inhibited. In other words, sometimes there is a greater sacrifice to creative flow when you get all organized than when you just allow things to flow. So the question that we are putting to you is, do your organizational skills, particularly the ones that are relating to money, cause you trauma? In other words, are you bouncing checks? Are you getting late notices? Are you financially behind things as a result of what some would call irresponsible? Or are you managing in your style?
Yes to both. I do. I mean, it has caused me to end up, bouncing a check or getting a late fee and things like that. And yeah, I think I am, man. I think I've gotten to the point where that doesn't bother me.
Well, you see, this is hard for many to hear, but when you get into this creative flow where you're asking and the universe is yielding, you reach this place where you don't sweat the small stuff. And keeping track of what you did is a little bit of sweating the small stuff. Now, we know your government requires it of you to a certain degree. We know that there are records and reconciliations that are required. But we have to say to you, far, 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 far more importance is put upon that than we would if we were standing in your physical shoes, because you spend your time doing things you do not want to do, get yourself out of sync with the flow. When you get in the flow, so much avalanches in that it becomes unimportant how it is managed. It's sort of like saying, I have more money than I have any sensible use for, so now I don't have to keep such a close eye on my bank account. So, there is so much disagreement in this room. It is great fun. In other words, Esther balances her checkbook to the penny. She cannot bear it if it does not balance. She will stay up all night to find it if it is out of balance. And she feels uncomfortable while she's doing it because she knows with every fiber of her being it is a waste of her precious life experience. And yet she has this thing that says, I must be able to account for all of this. And what we would say to her is, if you will relax and allow, everything falls into place. Jerry read an article to her. A woman keeping her checking account for 16 years rounded everything up or down to the nearest dollar. If she wrote a check for $10.75, she entered $11. It was easier for her to add it in her head. And after 16 years of doing this, her husband found out about it and was appalled and spent 6 months reconciling the accounts. And it was 72 cents difference. And so what we're really saying to you is find the place of ease and let your creative juices flow and let everything else take care of itself.
I don't even balance I don't keep track of my checkbook. I just have some sort of a guesstimate of what I think is available.
The bank is keeping track.
Right. That's what I figure.
And you can call them anytime you want and ask them how you're doing.
Right.
And you have an awareness of approximately what's outstanding since you last called.
Right.
We think you can figure it out.
And that's
close enough.
Should be okay. And that's not causing any problems then as far as money and things flowing to me. It's
your
just two different things.
Guilt about it causes problems. The situation itself doesn't matter.
Okay.
In other words, as you say, I'm a bad person because I don't make my bed, then you better make your bed or get over thinking that you're a bad person because you don't.
How did you know?
In other words, either make it or say it's all right that you don't. But don't keep yourself in that tension place, you see. Yes. What we would do, if we were standing in physical shoes, we would look for our own positive aspects. We would say, I'm alive, I'm energetic, I'm enthusiastic about life. There is so much that I want to do. There are so many things that do attract me. There are so many things I'm interested in. And I'm taking a big bite out of life. And the things that matter do get my attention. And everything's percolating along just right. And I'm becoming more and more expansive. And at any time that I want, if it's really important, I can hire someone to deal with all of that stuff. And just relax.
Awesome.
There are those who get out and live life, and there are those who stay home and clean their house. And there are those that call one virtuous and one whimsical and irresponsible. And there are those like us that call it your choice in the way you live your life. In other words, you get to choose. Nobody else. The only thing that matters is your alignment between you and you. That's all, you see. So ease your own mind and bring yourself into alignment. If you really, really, really want things to be tidy, if you really, really want things to be reconciled and organized, then you've been launching rockets of desire, and the universe has been hearing that. And as you chill out and stop beating up on yourself and noticing how irresponsible you are and how disorganized you are, which is holding you in a pattern that is not letting the universe yield to you what you need to get organized. In other words, as long as you're frustrated about not being organized, that means that frustration itself is the indicator that you're holding yourself in a place where even though the universe is trying to yield the solution to you, you can't get it, you see. So that's why we're saying, make it a non-issue. Say it doesn't matter. Deactivate that. And everything that you need or want, if you really want it, will flow easily to you. So later on, after you've really chilled out about this, and you have someone keeping your house and you have someone keeping your books, then you can say to us, well, Abraham, I guess it did matter, because when I relaxed, all of that came to me. But if 5 years from now, after you've chilled out and you're happier than you've ever been, and you still don't have anyone keeping your house or keeping your books, then you can say, well, I guess I really didn't want that because it didn't happen. Because if you want it and you relax, it will happen. That's big. No matter what it is. If you really want it, and if you get out of the way of it, it will happen. It must be. It is law. It can be no other way. It's the way this universe is established, you see. We did not find you confusing. We found you easy to read. We found the question within you clear. Do you feel the power of our answer? We're coming forth in response to the clarity of your desire. You're clear. You're just confused because you think you're supposed to want what others want you to want. They say cleanliness is next to godliness. And we say, think of this random universe where everything is possible, and understand that the organizational skills belong to law of attraction. And if you will relax and allow law of attraction to do the organization, the managing, then you can spend your time doing the things that please you and that make things happen for you. Yes.
Very good.
So next time someone asks you how you're doing on your checkbook, say, law of attraction is managing my financial. I have a financial manager. Oh, really? Is he good? The best. Godlike. What else?
Okay. I have this habitual knuckle cracking. And I feel like I should stop cracking my knuckles.
Why?
But maybe it's the same as the organization thing.
Well, why do you crack your knuckles?
Why do I do it? I'm not sure. I started
sort of satisfying, isn't it?
I guess.
Something sort of pleasing about it in some way. Relieves a little tension.
I guess,
yes. Yeah. Why would you want to stop?
I've heard it causes arthritis, that it's very unhealthy.
So you want to stop because others want you to?
Well, I don't want it to hurt me in any way. And
Does it hurt when you do it?
No.
Then don't worry about it. In other words, if you were doing something that were detrimental to your experience, you would feel it as it is happening. In other words, have you ever shut your finger in the car door?
Yeah. But what about, eating ice cream? Seems like it's good at the moment, but I mean, it's not necessarily healthy for you.
Well, if you find yourself having responses to it that don't please you, in other words, if you feel your stability leaving you, if you feel head rushes, or if you find your body changing in ways that do not please you, then you would say, I am having detrimental results to this. But what we are getting at, we're not toying with you. We just want all of you. We're using you as our reason to say some things that we really, 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 really want to say. And that is, it's time for you to start guiding your own life from your own perspective instead of trying to guide it from everybody else's perspective. Because if you're listening to everybody else, there is nothing for you to eat. In other words, if our friend's husband was guiding you, you would only eat raw things, you see. And so you cannot guide your life by outside influence. And we want so much for you to realize that you have guidance within you. In other words, as you've moved through life experience, you've concluded many things. You've concluded that you want to be strong and that you want to be healthy and you want to be vital and you want to be meaningful. You've concluded that you want to be of value, that you want to have fun, that you want to be an uplifter. You've concluded that you want to be healthy, that you want to be strong. You've concluded that you want to be that way always while you are in this physical body. In other words, you have set forth some very clear intentions that Source Energy has received fully and understands that you want. So anytime you offer any thought, word, or action that would cause you to depart in any way from these things that the universe knows you want, you will receive a signal in the form of negative emotion that is your indicator that the thought that you're thinking in that moment is resistant to the desire that you've been saying that you want all along, you see. So if you were saying to us, well, I've really been having this nagging impulse. When I crack my knuckles, I have this strong sense of melancholy, or I have this strong sense of guilt or wrongdoing in some way. Then we would say to you, well, it could be that your inner guidance is letting you know that since you want to be be healthy and strong, that this action may not be in alignment with it, but we don't feel you feeling that at that time. We don't feel you getting it at that time. You're getting it in response to what somebody else has to say about it. You see what we're getting at?
Yes.